everyone, my name is Gary Gomes. I'm a Vedic or Hindu or Jyotish astrologer of some 35 years experience. I've been an astrologer since 1990, and I would like to talk today mainly about what happened on February 28th, that is the bombing of Iran. However, I would also like to talk about certain other events that kind of flew underneath the radar over the past week that are as significant, maybe even more significant than that particular bombing. So just bear with me a second, and uh, while I give you my details, if you want to contact me for a reading, you can contact me at 508-525-0001. I am slowly getting better. I had a flu for a while, which has seriously compromised me. I think it was a combination of going outside and shoveling and not being adequately um, prepared for it, if I'm quite honest with you. It's largely gone, and my energy levels are getting a lot better now. Um, the other thing I want to tell you is so you can contact me at 508-525-0001. You can text me at that number. You can also email me at garygomesg@gmail.com. And I'd be happy to talk with you about readings, about lessons, about anything you would need from me. And even I don't give services for free, uh, but depending on what you want to do, I can reach an accommodation with you price wise. Also, would like to mention our store Crystal Expectations, which is located at 854 Brock Avenue in New Bedford, Massachusetts, 02744. The phone number there is 508 5 I'm sorry, 508 990 7898, or you can call me at 508-525-0001 to contact me. As always, I would love for you to share, like, comment on the video. And again, I try to make this a politics-free zone, so I'm not siding with either force. I'm engaged strictly in astrological analysis. And I have to confess that I thought up until just very recently, I think maybe this past week, I didn't think the United States would strike, would attack Iran. I came slowly around to that conclusion. I think I would say roughly a week ago. I don't know if I announced it on this particular broadcast, and if I didn't, I apologize. But I had sort of seen that coming. I do recognize folks like Narashima Rao, who had correctly predicted this, and his timing was also very, very good. I did think something would happen before the end of February, but I was hoping it would be an overthrow of the government versus a bombing attack. So let's go on to Iran's chart. We'll look at Iran's chart. We'll look at the U.S. chart. And we'll also look at what I think is a festering problem, which has actually already emerged in Afghanistan and Pakistan. So let's go. Let me see if I can share the file with you. Um, so one of the things that I did was I looked up the actual start of um, the various conflicts the United States has been involved in over the past uh, 25 years or so. And I took um, a license so to look at the start of the Afghanistan conflict, which was really from the get-go, it was a boots on the ground operation. There was never any doubt there would be troops committed. Iraq was the same way, so I haven't looked at Iraq, but basically, um, so the conflict had, I would say, a very different backstory. I'm not sure if the current administration is planning on putting troops on the ground unless it absolutely has to. Uh, and so if we look at the Afghanistan airstrike that started the conflict, it was October 7th, 2001. And if you recall correctly, there was time to prepare for this on both the part of Afghanistan and the United States. And one of the things that happened, one of the unfortunate things that happened was, so I can remember a teacher of mine, K.M. Rao, saying if this conflict started, it would go on for a long time. Both the Afghanistan conflict and the Iraqi conflict. And he was absolutely right. So, and I can show you, at least from my perspective, the astrological reasoning that went into that. I'm not sure if this was his actual astrological reasoning, but at the time of the actual air attacks, the first air attacks on Afghanistan, we had a Moon-Saturn conjunction in a fixed sign. So I don't have the exact time of the air attacks. I apologize for that. I looked it up. I couldn't find it. Somebody out there may have it. And Saturn is aspecting Cancer, and Venus is in a fixed sign. So we have a lot of planets, and we also have Mars in what I would call a K2 in a warlike posture. So for those of you who don't remember me saying this, this particular degree of K2 of Sagittarius down here in the lower left-hand corner is particularly dangerous because it's connected with it's the Mula Nakshatra, it's connected with the goddess of destruction, Nuriti, and it will tend to prolong conflicts. It will tend to destroy a great deal. Saturn is at 21 degrees uh, of Taurus. I had previously said I really hadn't seen any um, world wars start when Saturn was at when Jupiter was at 23 degrees of um, Taurus, as some astrologers had indicated. But I do think that degree is rather dangerous, and Saturn is within 2 degrees of that particular sign. So this, to my mind, the Saturn-Moon conjunction alone would have made the conflict a long, almost 20-year-long conflict. The other thing is we have a lot of fixed activity. We have bad judgment because we have a Rahu-Jupiter conjunction over here. And really, the main idea behind attacking Afghanistan was to get them to give up um, Osama bin Laden. Now, as we found out years later, Osama bin Laden was in Pakistan, not in Afghanistan, or at least that's where he was holed up. At least for the latter part of the years there. So we were not only um, initially, I guess, based on the intelligence we had, we were going after the right target uh, or the right location, but that changed. And I think one of the other things that happens here, so the reason I'm showing this is really to indicate what are the signs of a long conflict. Rahu involved with Jupiter, Moon involved with Saturn, et cetera, et cetera. Now, we can take Iraq, the Iran air raids, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get that to pop up. Okay, so that was February 28, 2026 at 9:45 a.m., at least according to the source that I looked up. and it was in Tehran, Iran. I'll just use that as a default location. Now, several significant things here, several significant differences. Jupiter is in Gemini as it was last time, so that Jupiter in Gemini does create what I would call very strong patriotic urges, okay, in the chart. Even though its retrograde is still heading towards Cancer, which to me is essentially an indicator of conservative tendencies in a country. Saturn is a Saturn aspect. Saturn's aspecting nothing, absolutely nothing. Saturn is in Pisces. It's in a relatively friendly sign over here. But, and let's look at the Navamsha chart just to make sure Saturn's in Virgo. Is it aspecting anything? It's aspecting Mercury and Venus in this chart. So communications would probably be affected by this. But in terms of enemies being involved, the moon is the enemy planet. The moon is in Cancer. The timing of this raid was much more auspicious. It was better than the raid in or the air attack or the commencement of hostilities in 2001. And I mean, we could actually take the commencement of hostilities back to um, the 9/11 attacks, but I really want to see, I really want to focus on the enemy action and how long this conflict will take to resolve. We have a cluster of planets. Whenever there's a cluster of planets forming in a chart, there's always some kind of major issue that develops. Mars, Mercury. So with Mercury, there may be some miscommunications. There may be some misunderstandings of what's going on here. But Venus is with Rahu. Rahu is with its great teacher, Venus. Um, Mars is with the sun. So essentially, that's going to favor. And this is in the United States moon sign. So we'll look at the United States chart in just a second. But Mars is, excuse me, extraordinarily strong in this chart. Okay. One thing I I take to heart in when I'm looking at Vedic astrology charts is that of all the planets, Mars moves the fastest, without exception. It's the quickest to act. So this, to me, at least, would indicate a rather quick resolution. Now, does that mean within a month or 2 months? Not necessarily, but given the Mahadasha this is in, I would say May 6th, between May 6th and July 10th, a large part of the conflict will be over. Now, again, I'm going to be cautious about this because I had thought that the war in Ukraine would be over within a matter of a few months. And actually, I wasn't wrong because there was a peace treaty that was essentially set up by Turkey, which actually would have concluded the war in the Ukraine within about a month after it started. But it was sabotaged by Boris Johnson from the UK, and so the Ukraine war could have been over 4 years ago. Okay, to be truthful. So right now, so it's just prolonged. It's just keeping on going. There have been some warnings from our military that we don't have capacity to bomb or to utilize our weapons, but that could be the Mars Rahu panic combination over here. Now, again, the Mars Mercury combination is a classic combination for lying or for misrepresentation. And with Rahu, that makes it a little bit stronger. But again, my first instincts are by the end of the Mars subperiod, largely the conflict will be over. Now I'm going to look at Iran's chart in just 1 second, but um, this also every planet is in almost every planet is in an air sign except for the moon. And so this is a fixed air sign, but it's also an air sign. And Aquarius does tend to do things rather quickly and efficiently. It doesn't linger around for results. So it's different. K2 is stuck in that particular sign, but that's also good for overthrowing monarchs or kings or of any kind. Now, that can have ramifications here in the United States and in other countries, but um, Iran warning that the war will be a regional war. It makes sense in that Iran is actually bombing several of its Arab neighbors, or its Muslim neighbors. So they're actually um, they're actually isolating themselves more, if that makes sense. And so I so let me just go to the Iran chart. All right. So that's why I think it'll be a short war. Iran itself is in a Saturn subperiod, so it'll try to hold out until July. Um, but I don't know, then it enters a really weak period. Mercury is debilitated in its chart. Um, there is no Jupiter offsets the debilitation to just a small extent. But that Mercury subperiod. So I'm essentially seeing the collapse by May, um, by May 23rd, maybe even as early as March 28th. But again, they have replaced the leaders. Let me just see what the leadership chart of this one looks like. If I can get it. All right, so D10 is chart of action. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 9. Yeah, that Saturn Mercury conjunction doesn't look good for Iran to survive this. Interestingly enough, Jupiter Venus subperiods do bring significant changes to things. So sometimes in people's charts, it leads to death if they have lost their ruler. And that's Jupiter in the ninth house, right? And 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 they've lost a lot of their leadership. So I'm not sure that they're going to survive much longer. They could surprise me. This is always a possibility. And basically in this kind of a setup because they may be able to marshal some support, but there's a lot of internal anger in Iran uh, towards the administration, and I'm not sure it's going to last all that much longer. It was on shaky stilts to begin with, and um, it's hurting right now. Um, United States is in Rahu, Mercury, Saturn subperiod. Saturn's a very strong planet in the United States chart. K2 itself is actually fairly strong. Saturn's K2's dispositor. So in terms of war or conflict, K2 tends to favor the United States, although there will probably be some confusion or some dissolution of alliances within the United States government. But this particular combination, um, so you'll see the United States intervening, I would say, up until April 14th of 2027, but not just in Iran, in other places. And but I'm thinking after around July 12th, there'll be less need for that. The other thing is right now is that this transit of major planets over the moon in the United States chart will start to separate as of um, 3 to 4 days from now when Venus moves out of this particular sign and moves into the next sign. We do have an eclipse coming up in this sign, so that will again give some unexpected setbacks around March 2nd to March 10th. So we'll look at that again just for a second. Eclipse chart. Let me see if I can pull it up. Let me see, eclipse. March 2nd. So we have the only planet that's really close to the moon is Mars. So again, like I said, there will probably be some retaliations against the U.S. around that time, and you'll probably see some panic. But after around 1 month's time, when Mercury turns direct and actually gets out of this particular sign, the cluster of planets, this massive cluster of planets we see um, in Aquarius will be far less damaging to the United States. So I'm thinking within about 2 months we're going to see, you know, a clearing of this. And my instincts are that, and I hope I'm right, that it's not going to be a ground war. There aren't that many Earth signs involved. Um, and that it will continue to be a bombing war. And so, so let's hope and pray it's over fast. Let's hope and pray uh, that the Iranian people resolve this by uh, pulling back control of their government, and that this conflict doesn't take too many more lives and it doesn't uh, damage the fragility of the Middle East anymore. The other thing that I'm a little bit concerned about is if we go over to time and space, let's go to the astro mapping relocate chart. So you probably didn't see any much coverage on it, but there was uh, but Afghanistan attacked Pakistan on Thursday. So while we were covering a lot of other stuff around the world, all of a sudden Pakistan sent troops into I'm sorry, Afghanistan sent troops into Pakistan. So this has been an issue for a long time. This is one of the things I'm more concerned about. It is awfully close to Iran, okay? And but Pakistan and Afghanistan are also close to India and China, and also close to Southeast Asia. And there are Mars lines running up over here in Southeast Asia as well. So these could be some quick conflicts. Hopefully it won't expand anymore, but I'm more worried about that than I am about Iran, to be honest with you. Because everybody's looking over here when there's a lot of action happening over here. Um, and again, as I've told everyone, this year is going to be extremely unsettled. And you'll see a lot of what I would call patriotic action after July. So buckle up, kids. It's not going to be an easy year. I will do the Fire Horse chart next week, but I want to look at these factors first, just because they're in the news right now. They're plastered all over the news. Um, I want to look at the Epstein i issue, but um, I think the Epstein issue is turning more from um, a a child abuse scandal, which is obviously very serious, and more to a diplomatic um, relations and an influence peddling scandal. So that's what got Prince Andrew arrested. It wasn't uh, the fact that he was involved with underage women, which is bad enough in and of itself. But uh, when these things start becoming security threats, that starts to assume a whole different dimension of problematic for countries. And it seems like it was something that was um, it seems like that's one of the reasons why it wasn't explored by previous administrations. Because essentially Biden had the records were most of the records were available from like 2019 onwards, the complete files. So the Trump administration didn't look at it in his first term. The Biden administration totally stayed out of it. Um, and so and and I think Merrick Garland would have. Um, I'm just trying to think of a good way to put it. There would have been some outstanding premise to investigate this, especially since you have so many high-ranking and influential people involved during the Biden administration. And I think um, this was not looked at mainly not because of wealth and power, but mainly because of political influence peddling. And basically, it would make everybody look bad. And I think that's what we're going to see over the next few months. And like I said, not just in terms uh, of the sexual aspect of it, which is bad enough, but because a lot of leaders, a lot of important and influential people around the world were compromised. And so watch this spot for further developments on that. If we have the chart right now, this is the chart we're looking at for that's the Mars second chart. So let's pull up the chart for today. And let's look at that. So we'll focus on that for the next week. And I'll do a deeper dive into Afghanistan and Pakistan next week, and also into some of the countries in Southeast Asia. But like I said, India is several broadcasts I've looked at in the past. India is in, just quickly, I'm going to go to India. Sorry, folks. India is in a very aggressive posture right now. Um, it's in a Mars Rahu period right now. So it's going to be hyper nationalistic between February 4th and next February 22nd of 2027, and even more so after that. Okay, so um, it'll be interesting to see whether or not India is going to get involved in this mess. I have a suspicion between Pakistan and Afghanistan. I have a sinking feeling it will, uh, but I need to look a little bit more at the astrology before I can make a final determination. And China, by the way, was also um, pulled into the Iran issue because there were rumors that Iran was approaching China for weapons. So this does have a potential to blow up into something much larger than it is. Uh, but I'm guardedly optimistic that Jupiter, uh, being in Gemini, will try to ameliorate that. And also, I have faith that the people of Iran will actually overthrow their government and replace it with with a less uh, dictatorial form of government. Um, I'm not crazy about the rumors I've heard that the Shah's, the former Shah's, I think grandson might be returning to power, and I'm hoping that they avoid that because that would just set up the same circumstances that allowed, yeah, Ayatollah Khomeini to come to power. So let's look at this particular chart. Um, so we have Jupiter in the first house. This is for this week. Jupiter's in the first house, ruler of the seventh and the 10th house. So that's a house of action. Bosses will be difficult to deal with, very difficult to please, very unhappy. But work will be, although more effort than normal, will be more pleasant than normal, more fruitful than normal. Um, Moon is in the second house, so there should be increasing money flow for most signs this week. K2's in the third house. It does indicate that you'll see more attempts at overthrows of existing governments. And that includes what I'm seeing in the United States. You know, basically, um, the divisiveness in the United States is not just um, party against party, it's party within party. And so that'll continue. Um, Rahu, it's Rahu, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury combination indicates there is a strong change, desire for change in the world overall. Again, because it's in a fixed sign, this does indicate a return to tradition, a desire to return to um, what I would call nationalistic instincts. And I'm not using nationalism as a negative. So there's nationalism, which essentially is national pride, and there's nationalism which says, "Well, I don't like you, and I'm going to take over your country." I think there's nothing inherently wrong with national pride. I think there is something wrong with invading other countries and taking them over. Okay, so there's a huge distinction there. So I don't see anything wrong with, let's say, Belgians being proud of being Belgians, um, or Mexicans proud of being Mexicans, or Brazilians being proud to be Brazilians. Um, I do, however, see problems if that sentiment leads to invasion or aggressive tactics, which is still possible given this Mars Rahu conjunction. But this will be in effect for about the next 2 months. Okay. So again, you're going to have to watch out for that and be very aware. Also, you may find people just getting a bit too greedy about their possessions and also a little bit upset about property. Um, Mercury and Mars together, strong potential for lying or trying to rewrite the past in terms of history. Um, and that's a Mercury-Mars combination. That's essentially what I call a politician's combination. Venus is barely in this sign, but tomorrow it'll be in Pisces. It's exalted placement. So that does actually give some hope for peace. If Venus is strong, peace follows shortly after. But there will be obstacles because Saturn's in the same sign, and um, it'll be a peace with compromises. Let's see now. Rahu, Rahu, Mercury. So I've already covered that house. This is the most important house for the next um, day or so. Jupiter still aspects this house. It will for the next 4 months or so. And I think you'll see much more action in terms of reform of governments or changing the way governments work. Um, Saturn in the 10th house, again, that does give an urge uh, to expand, but only to certain countries. So, and also to certain companies. Okay, so Saturn is in Pisces. But again, as I said last year, when I looked at these combinations before, a lot of religious figures will be involved in scandals. So that's definitely fits in with the Epstein case, or a lot of people who we look at as institutional models will be involved in scandals, and they will fall from positions of grace. And that's actually started when Rahu and Saturn were in this combination, but um, you're starting to see the cleansing pattern coming in over the next few months. And it won't be over entirely until the end of this year. Okay. If we're looking at this sign, when we're doing this particular analysis, Jupiter's in the first house, it's retrograde. So you may see people having to take back positions or reassess their positions. Um, Interestingly enough, I have seen a couple of broadcasts saying they don't like the way the bombing was started, or at least one, they said they didn't like the way the bombing was started, but they are happy that Khamenei is gone. So I tend to not really like the displacement of any human life, if I'm honest. Uh, but it certainly made a lot of expatriate Iranians happy, and as a matter of fact, a lot of native Iranians happy. It appears. I'm sure there are some people who are very upset about it in Iran. So so I'm not discounting them, but it, it looks like it was welcomed. Um, and like I said, you're actually seeing some rare um, opportunities for a celebration. Now, the interesting thing about this is one of the things I haven't covered is how Israel is affected by this. So let me see if I have Israel's chart in here, because a lot of people blame Israel for this attack. Let me see if I have Israel in here. Yes, I do. Yeah, so Israel has a Virgo rising sign. Um, Israel, like it or not, is in a lucky phase. It's in a lucky phase right now, but it is a bit constrained because it's in a Jupiter. It's enjoying a Hamsa yoga, which is a Jupiter great personality yoga, and Venus aspects Jupiter. It will experience some setbacks in January of 2027. And there's a Saturn. Let me just see what the Saturn subperiod looks like. Moon Saturn. there's very little that Israel won't be able to accomplish over the next 3 to 4 months. And it goes into Mercury. Mercury's in the ninth house. So it's actually hitting some pretty good sub-periods. Some scandal in the Israeli government between November 16th to January 5th of 2027. But not really major trouble to Israel until between January 5th and May 30th. So if you, so I'm not defending the country. I'm just saying they have some good planetary luck. Saturn is in the first house, so essentially that's uh, grounds for why they're being hated. So they are being difficult or cruel to people from other countries. Saturn is in the seventh house. Um, Rahu's in the sixth house. They have a lot of enemies, but again, Rahu in the sixth usually indicates an ability to overcome enemies. So let me switch away from that just for a second. So I don't want to get anybody to get angry at me about. I'm not defending Israel. I'm just saying their chart looks pretty good for the next few months. Some difficulties, but more successes than failures. And let me get back to this chart. All right, so we're a day away from the eclipse, and we have. So let's look at the individual charts for each sign. Okay, so um, world politics, sometimes I'm interested in it. Definitely, I've always been interested in politics since I was a very young, especially international politics, since I was a very young child, like maybe around, God, even as young as, um, let's say around 7 years old or so. I don't know where it came from. No idea where it came from. Um, and I can look at my chart and give you an idea, but yeah, I don't want to talk too much about my chart. And so I've been interested in these kinds of conflicts for many years, and just curious about the world in general and how these things are forming out. So at least in this chart, so let me switch back to you and what you're facing this week. Okay. So my apologies for the digression, which was uncalled for and unnecessary. Um, so we have Aries, April 15th to May 15th. Aries has Jupiter in the third house. Be very polite. Home life will be relatively pleasant this month or this week. Still some problems with kids. Kids are acting a little bit difficult, a little bit out of control. Um, Seventh house, Lord is Venus. Lord of the seventh house is heading towards its exaltation sign. It will make relationship partner much more responsible, much more strict, but actually happier. Um, Venus is with Sun, Mars, Mercury, and it's not combust at all. So again, you'll have a lot of interesting or good-looking people come into your life among your friends, and it gives good potential for gains. From this chart, uh, the ninth house has a whole slew of planets in it, so there will be varying ups and downs in luck this month. But overall, it's a good month. Slow but steady expenditure patterns, though. To be honest with you, so again, prosperous week, but again, just heavy expenditures always follow uh, from this planetary placement, from these planetary placements. For Taurus, that's May 15th to June 15th. And again, we have a Kala Sarpa Yoga, which is in the process of forming. 15, yep, it's not quite formed fully. Mars is still outside the axis, but it's going to be here within about a month or so. So, let me just see now, Rahu. Are all the planets being swallowed by Rahu? Nope, Mars isn't. So Mars is still outside the Kalasarpa Yoga. Okay, so so essentially for Taurus, that's May 15th to June 15th. Um, Good for financial gains this week, good for career luck, good for fame. Jupiter's in the second house, good for financial growth, especially connected with hard work. Moon is in the third house, good for expansion of contacts. And let's see now, Venus is in the 10th house, good for career growth. Saturn's in the 11th, slow but steady income gain. For Gemini, which is June 15th to July 15th, Gemini has Jupiter in the first house. Um, and that's generally good for career and for relationship life. Uh, there's no Mars affliction, so this should open doorways for career life. Saturn does aspect the seventh house, though, so again, relationships, take them slowly and steadily. Don't try to rush into them. Um, Moon is in the second house, so good for financial gains. Ketu's in the third house, very good for bravery. Mars, Sun, Venus, and Mercury are in the um, ninth house, so that gives erratic but relatively consistent career luck. And Saturn's in the 10th house, so good career growth for this particular sign. For Cancer, Cancer has the moon in the first house. That's not a great personality yoga, but it is a very considered a very good combination. So moon is in its own sign. So people with this sign placement or planets in Cancer will feel very comfortable or very relaxed about things. So they'll feel that things will work out for the best. K2's in the second house. That's not a bad placement. If K2's in the second house, essentially it will give gains through government. And as a matter of fact, unexpected gains through government. We have no planets in houses 3 through 7, but the seventh house lawyers in the ninth house, so that does give good stability in relationships. But again, relationship partners may be a little bit um, taking a little bit too much advantage of you. Um, One, two, I'm just counting the numbers over here. One, two. Yeah, and this sign will tend to be very attractive to other people. Saturn is in the ninth house. Um, that tends to give good relationship luck, but only with existing relationships. New relationships should probably be avoided. And Jupiter's in the 12th house, so good for saving money. For Leo, Leo has K2 in it. Again, I tend to view this placement as kind of a Raj Yoga. The sun is aspecting K2. It's in the same sign with Rahu, so that's a nodal yoga, a nodal Raj Yoga. And again with Mars, which is the most auspicious planet for this sign. So relationship life will tend to be good, tend to be auspicious, tend to be healthy and wealthy. Again, not a good time for new business partnerships. Uh, Not for probably for about another 3 to 4 months. But existing partnerships should go well. But again, watch out that the partnership um, is will give you gains, and the partners won't try to deceive you or um, pull sneak attacks on you. This is from, so I don't think I gave the Cancer dates. The Cancer dates are July 15th through August 15th. Gemini are June 15th through July 15th. Leo is August 15th through September 15th. So overall, this is a good month for Leo. Again, there is some fear among people who are poor that you'll take advantage of them. Um, That's not entirely unjustified, but again, this is a good combination for Leo's look. For Virgo, Virgo has no planets in the first house is September 15th to October 15th. And Virgo has its Lord in the sixth house, which will make it give it a lot of enemies, a lot of pushing to succeed. Saturn's in the seventh house, um, tends to favor old or understood relationships as opposed to new ones. And Jupiter's in the 10th house, good career growth and good financial rewards in career. So overall, not necessarily a bad month for Virgo or a bad week for Virgo, but again, be a little bit careful about competitors or people misrepresenting you to other people. It's similar to Leo, but a little bit sneakier. For Libra, Libra goes from October 15th to November 15th. This is all also applies to Vedic Libra suns, and this also applies to Vedic Libra moons and Vedic Libra rising signs. Libra has no planets in the first house. Venus is placed in the fifth house, with a cluster of planets all working together to produce some wealth from past efforts. Although there will be some frustration and some repetition, at least from this chart. So this will not be smooth acquisition of wealth, but it will be relatively reliable. Saturn is in the sixth house. This is the Raj Yoga Karaka planet for the sign. And Saturn in the sixth house actually presents good efforts at work, but some problems in home life and also some problems with education. For the seventh house Lord, Mars is with Rahu. The person can get distracted or easily engaged in relationships which aren't futile, which aren't fruitful, and which will tend to waste your time and resources. So be careful who you spend your time with. Ninth house has Jupiter in it. Even though Jupiter's retrograde, this is considered very good. And Moon is in the 10th house, at least until tomorrow, and it'll be in the 11th tomorrow. So it should be a good week for gains, unexpected gains for Libra. For Scorpio, Scorpio has lasts from November 15th to December 15th. Again, we're talking about rising and moon signs as well. And the Lord of the sign is in the fourth house, along with Mercury, Rahu, and Venus. So again, this does create a kind of a Raj Yoga for this particular planet. Um, Mars and Sun are considered to be good planets for this rising sign. Venus, not so much. Mercury, not so much, but there is at least some luck to be attained through Sun and Mars in this chart. And that will continue until about 2 weeks into the month. And the Mars Rahu conjunction will still be helpful, but it won't shine as much light on home affairs as this the beginning of the month does. Fifth house has Saturn in it. It's the Lord of the fourth and the fifth. That's usually a good combination for luck through family members or through people connected with your family. Um, we have Jupiter in the eighth house. Can give unexpected gains, but you have to watch out that you don't get trapped in investments. Moon is in the ninth house. It's called a Boudica planet, which is considered to be an evil planet for this rising sign. But basically, the Lord of the ninth in the ninth house is generally lucky. So there will be some luck for this sign, but also there will also be some prices to be paid for this luck. So when I say prices, I mean things like you may have to sacrifice some time, you may have to sacrifice some peace of mind, those kinds of things. For Sagittarius, our friend Sagittarius, Sagittarius has um, Basically, no plan. It has its Lord. So Sagittarius lasts from December 15th until January 15th. Sag is aspected by Jupiter, which tends to protect the rising sign, but it's also aspected by Saturn, so it'll make the rising sign a little bit depressed or a little bit uncomfortable. Um, Mercury, Rahu, Sun, and Mars are in the third house. That's not a bad placement for courage and for striving to do new things. Saturn's in the fourth house can make the sign a little bit depressed or a little bit anxious. Um, Jupiter's in the seventh, good for relationship opportunities, especially for with people you know. And Moon is in the eighth. Again, some anxiety because of Moon being in what's essentially a trapped house. Kate, who's in the ninth house, gives generally good luck, but from unexpected sources. So overall, the Sagittarius week isn't bad. It's just not going to go as smoothly as you hoped it would. But basically, it's going to be a good week. For Capricorn, Capricorn lasts from January 15th to February 15th. And Capricorn has its Lord Saturn in the third house, so good for financial growth. Um, and excuse me, good for increased ambition. The second house has a whole series of planets in it which are good for financial growth and financial improvement. Um, Sixth house has Jupiter in it, which indicates you're going to see some enemies from people who are trying to give good advice. Moon is in the seventh house, so it should be relatively good for relationship partners, but um, a lot of attraction, especially in terms of business relationships. But I wouldn't get involved in long-term romantic relationships with this sign, with this planet here. And K2 is in the eighth house. This tends to indicate unexpected gains or improvements, but um, you'll have to watch out and make sure that you read the fine print. For Aquarius, we have Mercury, Rahu, Venus, Sun, and Mars in the first house. So this is a busy um, sign for this month. There'll be a lot of pressure points coming down on it, bearing down on it, a lot of demands for attention. That's fine, but again, this sign has to watch out for its health and make sure it doesn't take on too many obligations all at once. Saturn is in the second house. This can make things a little dicey for money. So money will be there, but it will have to be worked or extracted very, very carefully. Jupiter's in the fifth house. This is essentially a lucky placement for this particular sign. It gives good luck from past life efforts and also extreme financial success. Moon is in the sixth house. Public profile will suffer just a little bit, or you'll be hidden a little bit behind the scenes, actually struggling for attention. Kate, who's in the seventh house, attracted to unusual or unorthodox business partners. For this particular sign, I would say I would avoid partnerships with people who seem like they're struggling to stay afloat. Um, just in general, this will be the position of most people who approach Aquarius for business relationships over the next 6 months or so. Um, and let's see now. Yeah, so that's about it for Aquarius. For Pisces, Saturn's in the first house. Um, that does tend to make the sign a little bit uh, spend a little bit too much, especially on um, desires or ambitions, and also on family members, and also on uh, relationship partners, and also on siblings. So you're going to have to be careful about those particular expenditure patterns. And Pisces goes from um, March 15th to April 15th. Aquarius is February 15th to March 15th. And so, at least from this chart, excuse me, a lot of expenses, and also a lot of attention to home life and education for this particular sign. Good for learning new subjects or new terminology very, very quickly. And we have Saturn. We have that cluster of planets in the 12th house, which indicate all the expenses I had mentioned before. Expenses because of work as well. So let's go to the world map. All right, that worked out much better than I thought it would. So we do see a cluster of planets over the um, over Western Africa. I'm sorry, Western Alaska. Yeah, Western Africa, Western Alaska. I tell you, I was sick. And so this may give some volcanic activity to this region. It may do nothing at all, if I'm honest, but some difficult weather. And Jupiter is passing through the middle of the state, and that should give some financial growth to Alaska. We do have a Jupiter line passing through Canada all the way down close to Toronto and Ottawa, and down another Jupiter line passing through uh, Puerto Rico. I'm sorry, I missed a couple of states. Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, looks like Delaware, and close to Puerto Rico, really close to Puerto Rico, and also through um, Venezuela and uh, northwestern Guinea, the and all the way through Brazil. So this could indicate some expansion of political roles for these regions and also some increased luck. We have a Mars line running through Alberta into North and South Dakota, Nebraska, uh, Kansas, down to Oklahoma, down into Texas, and into Mexico. So we know there's fighting in Mexico right now. We know there's conflict in Mexico right now. This Mars line kind of confirms it. And there will be changes of governments in these regions right here, or efforts to change governments. Um, there's a Rahu Sun conjunction in over Minnesota. Looks like Iowa, Louisiana, and down into the middle of Mexico, or the southerly tip of Mexico. My apologies. And that can bring some disruptions to local governments and some scandals connected to local governments. Um, there's a Mercury-Venus line going over Canada right now, so you'll see a lot of communications coming out of Canada all the way down the Carter down to Florida and Cuba. Cuba, as we all know, is in a pretty difficult financial situation. Um, Panama as well is there'll be some activity around Panama. I don't think there'll be any explosions or anything like that, but certainly some efforts to disrupt the Panama Canal, and also some financial issues in Peru and Ecuador. There's a Saturn line running through Haiti and the Dominican Republic, also through Massachusetts and New Hampshire and Montreal, and all the way down through Peru into Chile and Argentina. So this particular combination isn't all that horrible, but it does indicate some restriction or some um, those governments acting a little bit more oppressive than normal, or a little bit more restrictive than normal. Uh, the Jupiter line we've already discussed. There's a moon line running out close to the Azores and close to Cape Verde. Um, but this could indicate minor changes in government. There's a Mars line running close to Madeira, um, and also the west coast of Africa. The area around the Ivory Coast, around close to Mali, and there's also a sun line running through Portugal, all the way down through Madagascar. Isn't Madagascar? No, I know I'm screwing that up. Madagascar's over here. Um, Down through Libya, Algeria, and down to the south, the southern tip of the Horn of Africa, and this will indicate some increased governmental activity in that part of the world. The same is true in Spain and Portugal, and I would also tend to say in Ireland and England. There is a Rahu line also engaged in that. So again, we can look at more political scandals in England, Spain, West Africa, and let's see now. There's I need to move this other way. There's a Mercury line running through Norway, France, Germany, and again, Algeria, and hitting down into sub-Saharan Africa, Niger, and down into Nigeria. And so that should indicate some more information about that part of the world being broadcast. Jupiter line runs through Eastern Europe, close to Finland, next to Ukraine, close to Poland, and down over Turkey and Egypt and into Sudan. So essentially, this entire line, all the way down to South Africa, represents legal issues for the government there and legal issues for the people there. If we go all the way, so there are no other planetary lines between here and there, so Iran is actually noticeably free of planetary lines. There's a moon line running here, Jupiter line running over here, and a moon line over here. So this does indicate changes to these governments, and I would say rather relatively swift changes to these governments in Pakistan, um, Kazakhstan, and also Uzbekistan, and our old friends, Afghanistan and Pakistan. India has a Mars line running through it, so it'll be exposed to some violence over the next week or so, and also some dissatisfaction with the government, especially in Bengal and Bangladesh. So maybe some governmental scandal in those parts of the world. There's a Mercury and Venus line running through Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, and down into Malaysia. And this could indicate some financial improvement for those areas, more trade. And there's a Saturn line running through Vietnam and going into um, Borneo and Indonesia. So essentially, this line tends to indicate that economy will fall a little bit, and the Chinese. Um, China will have some financial issues. Um, there is a Jupiter line running up through the Philippines and up through Japan, so those parts of the world look like they're expanding. Um, like I said last week, the government in Japan was um, I'm looking for that Jupiter line again. I'm trying to retrace my steps. Actually, bring economic opportunities to Japan and Philippines, and also somewhat to Australia and Indonesia. Um, there's a moon line and a Mars line running up through southeastern Australia and affecting that small island chain there. And you see also some restrictions on government coming into being in Canada. Okay, so this is actually not a bad reading. I think we address pretty much every issue um, that might concern you. Um, and as always, I'm going to stop my share. Wish you the very best week. Um, and try to stay calm during the eclipse. It's a Rahu eclipse. It's uh, a full lunar blood moon eclipse, so tensions will be running high. And just relax. Don't let it get to you. Man, I'm just trying to think of what else I want to say. I think that's about it for this week. Thank you for watching. I love each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being loyal followers. I do appreciate it. If you have any questions or suggestions for me, I other than the Chinese dragon, um, or other than the than doing the not the Chinese dragon, doing the year of the horse astrology forecast, which I'll do next week. Then God bless you all. And again, remember, I do love you and I appreciate you and I thank you very much for being part of my life. Bye, everybody. Stay safe. There's a really bizarre weather pattern coming through the United States right now. So you're going to have to stay on your toes while traveling. Okay? Um, shouldn't be too bad, but again, it's caution is really advised. Okay? All right, folks. See you next week. Be well, and I love you again for the third time. Bye bye, folks.